Space Coconut.
Okay, today we're going to talk about Hex Blood Favour. I was going to try and make a joke about this perk, but the fact that it exists as a hex is a joke all by itself. Before I get into this perfectly serious perk discussion, I want to encourage you to sub if you're new and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos in the future. It helps the channel grow and pleases the algorithm overlords so they show my videos to more people. If you ever want to discuss anything you see in my videos, I'm live every Saturday on Twitch at 10 a.m. Pacific, sometimes earlier if I wake up. Links to everything are in the description. Now, Hex Blood Favour says, a hex that gains the favor of the entity when blood is spilt. When a survivor is hit with a basic attack, all pallets within a radius of 16 meters of your location are held in place by the entity for 15 seconds and cannot be pulled down by survivors. Hex Blood Favour has a cooldown of 40 seconds. This sad attempt at a hex perk is basically cruel limits for pallets. Even though cruel limits, which is already a pretty bad perk, the devs somehow thought that the pallet version needed to be a hex in addition to it. Absolutely gigabrain design decision. Anyway, the idea behind the perk is really good, and is something that players have asked for as a solution to nearly limitless pallet looping for a very long time. As it currently is, this perk has many weaknesses that combine to make it unworthy to be a hex perk. If you go to any recent Dead by Daylight match from any content creator and pay attention to when their M1 hits connect, most often you'll find one of three outcomes. 1. You hit an injured survivor. If you hit an injured survivor, what are the odds that they're going to be able to drop a pallet on you? Pretty slim, unless they're under the effects of a protective perk, because otherwise they're going to be dying on the ground. Although, to be fair, this will protect you from being pallet stunned after you pick up the survivor, but that's not really the point of the perk, is it? 2. You hit a survivor that takes advantage of the speed boost they gain from being hit. If they do this, they're going to move out of the 15-meter radius, which would completely avoid the effects of the perk entirely, provided that it's off cooldown and not cleansed, of course. Number 3. You trade at a pallet, injuring the survivor but still stuck on the opposite side of a dropped pallet with a 40-second cooldown to wait through. But at least you downed the survivor with absolutely no help from this perk. I'm sure I missed some situational hits, but the point is that none of these situations will give you any value out of Blood Favour. But these are the types of hits that you're going to be finding yourself making in the majority of your matches. Add to the mix the fact that survivors can remove the perk entirely, and you have the first troll perk the devs have made specifically for the users of this perk. To their credit, again, on paper, Blood Favour is a really strong idea, and would definitely need some limitations. Unfortunately for the devs, their design and balance team don't like to test perks with players who have a high skill level at the game, so we get exquisitely crafted perks like this most of the time. I mean, let's face it, Undying is the Blight's best perk, and the community came up with the idea. All jokes aside, Blood Favour is a great idea with poor implementation like many other perks. But since this is a super helpful channel that offers suggestions and feedback, and not just scathing, sarcastic criticism, here are some things the devs could do to make this perk better. Either remove the cooldown or remove its hex status. The fact that both of these drawbacks exist together in one perk is a ridiculous decision. I don't really feel like I need to explain why, but let me put it this way. It's like giving a sprinter both a case of asthma and a random Charlie horse during the course of a race in order to give the other runners a chance to win. One will limit the sprinter just fine. Both is simply overkill. The best option that I've mentioned before is to tie the radius effect to be around the killer for a duration of time instead of an instant effect around the point of impact. By tying the radius to the killer and making it mobile, the power becomes much more effective. If the killer hits a good survivor, they'll zoom off to gain distance. The only escape survivors will have will be the myriad of second chance perks they have, along with dropped pallet and window vaults. Undropped pallets will become dead zones, which then might warrant a cooldown on a hex perk. but we'll never know unless we actually get to playtest it. If only there was a system in place to test perk and power ideas on a wider scale, where players could provide feedback to the devs so they could adjust things as needed. I don't think such a system is possible when the devs don't want to listen to players anyway. After all, they are more than capable of making up their own minds with regards to what needs doing with their own game. Yeah, you heard that right.
I think early on in the project, we embraced the fact that it stopped being our game. It became our game with a capital O. It's the players own a part of this as much as we do.
For sure.
On the forums, Carpe Mortem responded to Mandy's thing, and it was pretty epic, so I'm going to read that to you in case you missed it. As is evident with the Battle Pass, hillbilly changes, and uncountable other things that have happened, we're well aware that the company makes its own decisions. They favor money and players over quality and balance, which honestly is what a company does. You can say that there's no need to offer suggestions on who to listen to, but the fact of the matter is most of the streamers' known players are better than any of the devs at their own game. They know it better. Not the numbers and codes and percentages, but the possibilities and implications of use, the practice of the theory. The community offers suggestions and feedback, yet a discussion is closed, last worded, and then at the same time we're told you listen to feedback and decide on their own anyway. So do they listen or do they ignore? Or do they listen and then, even if suggestions are better or healthier, ignore them for their own decisions or reasons? Either way, was this snarky response necessary from a mod? I get it. Close the thread, which I don't see why. It was perfectly civil. It just calls out the company for their questionable decisions. Maybe even explain why it's being closed. But why be super aggressive, confrontational, and sassy? Why talk to us like we are children? Or should I put it better, talking to us like we're nothing more than already cashed-in customers? I 100% expect a ban, and I honestly don't care. The forums aren't anything more than side versus side echo chambers and people complaining because they want easy games and refuse to adapt or learn. It's full of absolutely horrible people and toxic children, but it has some decent people and ideas. Unfortunately, most of those are lost under the avalanche of new player or one-sided complaints. I understand this community is divisive and toxic and aggressive towards the mods and devs, but aren't you supposed to be the adults here? The ghost editing of comments, the closing of threads for no reason, and the absolute childishness of putting in a last word which doesn't explain the thread lock to then lock the thread with no response allowed is just sad. So why close their thread, other than not wanting the rabble to continue talking about how bad our overlords are? I wanted to make an entire video about that, but I decided against it because, we all already know. So I included it there. Let's have a chat about that in the comments. Whatever. Let's get back to Blood Favour. But because this perk is very easy to make overpowered, I really don't think the devs have the stones to adjust it to be more than a bad niche and extremely situational perk. Don't get mad at me. You know it's true. The only time you'll see players using this perk will be for meme builds to see if they can get any value out of it. I guarantee that you won't see any killer player that uses this perk as a focus and really expects to do well against good survivors. In the end, Hex Blood Favour is simply a meme tier perk with no reliable competitive use whatsoever. Well, when I say competitive this way, I mean that you intend to win matches with the perk. Let me know what you think about this video and whether you agree or disagree with my take on it. Let's be real though. We all know this perk is awful, but who's surprised by the dev's design capabilities at this point? Like the video if you like the video, and dislike the video if you hate well-designed perks. Until next time, I'll see you in the fog.